Hey guys, Aaron Cybertron Zhang here, and today we're jumping right into Road to Ranked. In the last episode, whoa, I can't even finish my statement because this is it's a mono ghost type team. My opponent was also like top 250, so that is so neat. I was gonna say we used the Specs Eternatus and Scarf Landorus-I team for the last episode. Now, we have two dark types, and we have Snarl and Suicune, so generally all of that's good for us, but with mono-type teams, there's always going to be a lot of crazy strats that you're just not expecting. Trick Room's obviously an issue here. I would expect Power Herb, Meteor Beam maybe on the... Power Herb, Meteor Beam certainly is a possibility. This is where, like, having Eterna Beam is actually really interesting because we can one-shot a lot of things, like even the bulky stuff. Like, I'm actually thinking Lando plus the Eternatus here, and I know that seems kind of weird, but the idea is that Lando outspeeds my Eternatus because of Scarf, meaning I can break Mimikyu's Disguise or break Lunala's Shadow Shield. Suicune is, like, interesting because of Snarl. If they didn't have the Delmise, I'd bring it, but I don't know, maybe I should be bringing it. I just can't see a world in which I don't bring the Incin, the Urshifu, and the Eternatus, and then Lando's just really nice because of what I was saying. Although, I did have Roar on Suicune, so one other lead I could have gone with was Eternatus plus Suicune, I guess, but hey, I'm rooting for my opponent here. That's a really cool team. So, thanks so much as always for watching Road to Rank. If you enjoyed, please share your support by leaving a like. I'd really appreciate it. And question of the day, I want to know what your first competitive format was in Pokemon. Let me know. Mine was Gen 4 singles, OU, and Ubers way back in the day. Cofagrigus and Mimikyu. Now, obviously, both of these Pokemon threaten Trick Room right now. This is a great lead by them, right? Because it's like I have to surely expect Trick Room to come out from something. Man, oh, U-turn is quite nice here because I can break Disguise and knock out Mimikyu. Okay, I'm down for that. Nice. Okay, that's really good. And they go into Lunala. Because I think if they get Trick Room up in this game, they actually have a decent shot at winning. I wouldn't even say decent. I'd say they're in a favorable position. Now, maybe Spec Sludge Bomb doesn't KO Mimikyu. If Mimikyu's like max HP and has some special defense bulk, I'd then get concerned. This is where having Scarf U-turn is really nice though, right? Because, yeah. Would I rather go into Urshifu or Incin first? I think Urshifu, because I'm not going to be able to click Fake Out in this game anyway, and Urshifu just pressuring with Wicked Blow is so nice into all of my opponent's Pokemon. I just hope we actually KO the Mimikyu right now. This was our strongest option. Oh, it actually survives. Uh-oh. Spaghetti-O. Wow. I mean, I had no other way around that. I needed to bring Suicune and lead it. That was my best bet. Okay. I mean, Landorus is really completely useless right now. So, like, I want to detect here and switch Eternatus out into Lando because that can take a Meteor Beam. And maybe Landorus faints, right? But then you can't go for Meteor Beam in subsequent turns. Then I also get a free switch into Incineroar. Mimikyu surviving there is a disaster, though, and yeah, I guess, like, they needed to play towards Trick Room here, so leading Suicune would have given me a better shot. Because, you know what I could have led? I could have gone Suicune plus Eternatus, which is what I was talking about earlier. Okay, they just go for Play Rough, meaning I could have Sucker Punched there, that's fine. Yeah, there's Meteor Beam, cool. Baiting on Meteor Beam is also very important, considering that we have Incineroar in the back, right? So now you shouldn't have a way to actually deal much damage into Incineroar, which is really crucial. Oh, they doubled up on Urshifu. Interesting. Okay. I don't mind that. The question here is, does Mimikyu have Will-O-Wisp? Because I obviously can Sucker Punch. And the fact they play Rough last turn makes me think they were trying to go all in. And Lunala now shouldn't actually have great damage into Urshifu. So, truthfully, I think I'm down to just go for a Sucker Punch here. And U-turn out. Okay, nice, we get it off. Will-O-Wisp there could have been really, really bad, but I made that play given that the last turn they were willing to just go for it and they didn't respect the Sucker Punch immediately there, so yeah. They're gonna Moongeist Beam. I mean, if Landorus faints here, it's honestly fine. I don't mind that too much. Okay, and they target Urshifu. Cool, I'm happy with that. Breaking Shadow Shield here with U-Turn is so nice, and granting us a free switch in is also very, very nice. So now I can bring in the Incineroar. Okay, this early, like, it felt like if we just knocked out Mimikyu turn 1, I would be in such a good position, but Trick Room going up actually put us in a really bad spot, but the last 2 turns have actually gone okay for us, but... Hey, I mean, kudos to my opponent. They were really making this all Ghost team work. I think Mimikyu is actually probably one of my least favorite Pokemon to go up against, because every time I see it, I'm just like, okay, Trick Room's probably going up, isn't it? So obviously I pressure Lunala with Sucker Punch right now. I think we just Detect here. Try to stall to turn a Trick Room. I do have Throat Chop. And, like, because they're all Ghosts, they don't have a switch in into Throat Chop. So I think I'm honestly down to just Detect and Throat Chop into Lunala right now. Maybe Lunala protects, actually. It probably does, but what does Coffer-Grigus do right now? That's the question. Yeah, I actually don't love the Throat Chop on a Lunala because I would expect Lunala to attack here, but maybe he doesn't have Protect. Okay, they switch. That's also fine. And it's going to be Delmise. Getting a Wicked Blow. Actually, this is good because now that's in Sucker Punch KO range. They actually just Body Press into Urshifu. Yeah, they've been targeting at Urshifu aggressively this game, but they just unfortunately haven't gotten any of the attacks actually successfully into it. That should put us in a very commanding position. Because now I can just Sucker Punch into Delmise. Even if Delmise protects, I can Parting... would I Parting Shot or just Throat Chop here? I think I'd rather just Throat Chop Coffer-Grigus. Because maybe they have Colbur Berry. Like, Delmise can protect here, right? But that's fine. And we have this late game not Lunala, late game Eternatus to play into with... What would I lock myself into? Probably just Dynamax Cannon? Okay. Yeah, like, this is the downside for my opponent using a Mono Ghost team, right? Like, Urshifu and Incin are just so common, and we fortunately have both of those. Okay, they have Iron Defense, but that's fine, right? Because I can just crit through it. And even if you're Colbur Berry here, I get rid of your Colbur. But they're not actually. Okay. Well, Trick Room expires now, which is obviously good. They're going to give us Mummy, which I'm fine with. I would think we could blow Chaos Coffer-Grigus. Like, we could double up onto it to be safe. Because we know it's leftover, so you don't get a big burst of recovery from, like, a Citrus Berry or any of the, you know, like Figgy or whatever, all of those berries. So I think in this position I am, because, like, Lunala, one of the downsides of using Lunala in this format is you basically get one chance to do huge amounts of damage into Incin with Power of Meteor Beam. So, yeah, I'm down to just Wicked Blow into Coffer-Grigus here and go for a Throat Chop onto it. Because Incin should win 1v1 against Lunala here. So, they're not going to protect either Pokemon, makes sense. Uh-oh. Please tell me Incin gets this knockout. That's also pretty cool, because now I actually don't have Unseen Fist anymore either. Alright, there's Moongeist Beam. I think we get the KO, but I wouldn't be surprised if it hung on with 1 HP. And that actually scares me a lot right now. Maybe I should have just gone for the knockout onto the Necrozma. Or sorry, not the Necrozma, the Lunala instead. Okay, that gets the KO. Jeez, that was way too close for comfort, though. I wouldn't actually be surprised if that was a slight damage roll. But now I can bring out the... Oh, I totally forgot we actually had Landorus in the back as well. But to be honest, Landorus was pretty useless after turn 1. The whole point of it... I got what I needed out of Landorus in this game, which was to break Mimikyu's Disguise and Shadow Shield. So, I want to see Eternal Beam's animations, so I'm just going to go for that. But my opponent might just forfeit here. Oh, nice. We're actually going to get it off. Cool. We just didn't get to use Eternal Beam once in that last game, and I've actually not seen its animation in game in a battle yet, so... Well, this is crazy. It feels like Stranger Things or something. That is so cool. And actually, it almost one-shots Lunala, but it doesn't actually get the KO. They just go for Meteor Beam. So, we're using 2 of the strongest attacks in the game right now, really. But, yeah, their Power Up's already committed, and we can just go for Throat Chop. Cool. Yeah, I mean, I really give my opponent kudos for trying to use a mono ghost team in the format. It is really hard to, and I think, like, they actually put themselves in a pretty good position. Like, if they had read into some of the Urshifu protects, like, I got maximum value out of Urshifu in this game, right? I got 2 Sucker Punches off to KO both the Mimikyu and the Dhelmise, and they spent 3 attacks into the Urshifu, right? They went for the Play Rough and the Meteor Beam into it, and then they also went for the Body Press into it. The question is then, would a 2 Body Presses KO Incineroar? I wouldn't think so from Rodriguez, but yeah, that was pretty scary because, like, in the end, my opponent's team, like, the team we're using here, especially with the mode that I went with, because I'm Scarf Lando and Specs Eternatus, both of those can't protect, so stalling on Trick Room is a lot more difficult, and I also don't have protect on the Incineroar, right? So as a result, like, if Trick Room goes up, which it did, like, then I start, it put ourselves in a weird spot. But the good thing is baiting out that Meteor Beam on turn 1 because it meant that Lunala couldn't really touch the Incineroar. And if you look at my opponent's team, they actually just didn't have good Incineroar damage in general. Like, your best bet is maybe a Liquidation from the Dhelmise, but we were able to just KO that. So yeah, like mono-type teams in general, it's just, like, tough to use because, like, all you have to do is run into, like, the one type that's super effective against you, and it can be really tough. But, my opponent had a nice setup with that Trick Room on turn 1. Curious about the other moves on Rodriguez as well. But yeah, that Mimikyu bulk, it enough to actually, like, Specs Eternatus was good here, but it wasn't actually able to get the one-hit KO onto Mimikyu or the Lunala, which was wild. But yeah, I think that, like, yeah, that game definitely could have gone towards my opponent, and we were just fortunate that Urshifu, like, was able to bypass so much pressure and, like, stalled a couple turns of Trick Room for us there. So yeah. I think if I were to replay this, I would just lead Suicune plus Eternatus, because this is where, like, having the Eterna Beam, like, we can Eterna Beam, we would have been able to Eterna Beam the Rodriguez slot and just roar the Mimikyu slot, right? So it's like, I didn't consider the double Trick Room possibility from there, and I also just thought, like, we would definitely get the knockout onto Mimikyu by going for U-turn and then a Sludge Bomb, but evidently that wasn't the case. So if I wanted a hard deny Trick Room, I lean more towards leading Suicune plus Eternatus. So yeah, I would probably go for Suicune over Landorus, because Landorus is also really useless after turn 1. But we actually got so much value out of it in this game specifically, where we are able to break the Disguise and break the Shadow Shield. So it did its job, but I think that Suicune's just generally more consistent. So even though it worked here, if I were to play that game again, I would lead Suicune Eternatus anyway. So yeah, kudos to my opponent though. That it is not easy to use a mono-type team, and that was actually really, really scary. So let's keep it going. Alright, next game of the day, and we're up against, more fun Pokemon, Kangaskhan. Okay. Kangaskhan, Landos, Tsareena, Zapdos, Whimsicott, Kyogre. So, one of the main questions, Tsareena is actually also one of the toughest Pokemon to play against, which is ironic because, like, you would think, hey, we have a decent Tsareena matchup with Eternatus, but, like, they have Triple Axle. And that's scary. And the main thing is, typically I want to bring Rillaboom. I mean, Tsareena and Kyogre is just a match made in heaven, right? It's just so strong. What does my opponent lead with here? I typically like Rillaboom Eternatus or Suicune Eternatus into these teams, because, like, there's not much to threaten Eternatus with a one-hit KO. Now, in this case, they do have that Landorus. That's a little bit scary. I think I like Rillaboom plus I don't know. Suicune is just so nice, though. Okay, I'm gonna go with Suicune. Well, what is this weak to, then? If it's Power Whip and they go Whimsicott, well, even if you go Whimsicott Tsareena, I can just Sludge Bomb. That's not terrible. Okay. And I'll bring Urshifu just because Focus Sash is valuable in a matchup like this. Cool team, though. It's not like a super conventional rain team, right? Like, Kyogre and Tsareena are expected, but the rest of the Pokemon aren't, like, super standard. Well, I mean, I'd say Zapdos isn't, like, surprising to see with the Kyogre, especially because you get more value out of Hurricane, but, the typical, like, Kyogre comps these days feels like Tornadus, Kyogre, Incin, Tsareena, Rillaboom, Urshifu, Alecki, sometimes you see, like, Togedemaru or Thunderous T, for example, so, like, some combination of those. Oh, they lead with Landorus. Okay, that's a very good lead by them. I don't love that. Now, I could switch into Rillaboom pretty safely on turn 1, but, like, do I bother Tailwinding here? I like Skull, because then we can just KO Landorus with a Grassy Glide the next turn. The reason I don't want to Tailwind is because, 1, they can Encore me, and 2, they can taunt me this turn. This is a really good lead by them, though. Like, yeah, well done. And if you've seen this team, this is what gets me worried, then you probably expect to switch out on turn 1. Bro, that's sick. That's awesome. They got maximum value out of my grassy terrain. That's really cool. Okay. Now I think Suicune survives an Earth Power from Lando here. So I want to fake out Whimsicott and Tailwind. That was a risky turn 1 by them, but it also makes sense because it's pretty unlikely. Okay, Landorus protects. That's a really good turn regardless of what Whimsicott does here. I mean, can't really do much, right? Because I'm going to fake out it. Okay. Now we get Tailwind up. Here's the other thing now. I outspeed Whimsicott. So this means that Encore, should you Encore me, will go after... if for Rillaboom, for example, if I click Grassy Glide, you'll Encore me into Glide rather than fake out. Now with Suicune, I'll probably want to switch out because it's obviously just valuable. It's just like, if my opponent has that Tsareena in the back, what you could do is switch Whimsicott out into Tsareena and then Sludge Bomb me, or you can stay in and Tailwind. I guess the thing is Suicune ever getting Encored here? I don't know. I should expect a Tsareena switch in, I think. Well, if you switch into Tsareena, you're not... yeah, it's just like, do you switch into Tsareena here? Because I want to Glide. But we have Woodhammer as well. I also am nervous about switching out Suicune in this position. Okay, I'm down for Grassy Glide into Landorus and a Scald here. Yeah, because you can't cover for both of those, I don't think. That's the switch out. Is that Tsareena? No, that's Zapdos. Oh, okay. Huh. It's also really good damage from Glide. Oh no. Is it Trick Room coming out right now? It's Trick Room, isn't it? Ah. This is a wild game. We're honestly not even in terrible shape right now, but Trick Room, Protect, Grassy Knot. Grassy Knot, Grass Knot. Grassy Knot. So I'm at the point now where like I want to stall on my own Tailwind. Now I don't have a Hurricane switch in. That's slightly problematic for us. Based off how much I did to Zapdos though, Woodhammer might straight up KO it. So like here I'm down to Woodhammer. Maybe they didn't bring Kyogre? I don't know. Anyway, I'm down to Woodhammer here and Snarl, I think. That's a really good switch for us to see. Kyogre? Yeah, Kyogre and then you can Hurricane Rillaboom. So then the question is, can Rillaboom survive a Hurricane here? But this means they didn't bring Tsareena. Wow. If we survive here, we are in good shape, but we don't survive. Maybe it didn't matter. Yeah, they're not Life Orb there though, so I feel like it probably mattered. That's okay though, it happens. I mean, that's a big crit, because if we knock out Zapdos there, it paves the way for Suicune, and you just don't have any offensive pressure into it. So, it's definitely a bummer, but that's part of the game. It happens. Honestly, I think I should just go into Eternatus right now, because I snarled both of my opponent's Pokemon. If I go into Urshifu, I can obviously pressure Zapdos with Sucker Punch. They could Roost Zapdos or switch it out. Yeah, I'm honestly down for Eternatus here. I'm just worried about, like, -1 Ice Beam into -1 Hurricane picking up the knockout. Actually, if I brought Urshifu, I could have protected Urshifu first. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. I really want to go for Dynamax Cannon here, but is that really the right play? Because I'm just left exposed. Kyogre could also theoretically switch out into Whimsicott here. So truthfully, the play I'm actually leaning towards is going for Sludge Bomb on a Zapdos. That's going to be a knockout, and then a Snarl. They're just staying with both. Okay, we don't take much, though, so I should survive a Hurricane or a T-Bolt on either Pokemon right now. Ideally, they try to Roost. They just T-Bolt. Okay, that's also fine. Okay. No crit. Okay, that wasn't Kyogre that we missed, right? Oh my goodness. Can't get a break in this one. I guess the Para helps, though, because Trick Room is up right now, so at least I can outspeed my opponent. No, I was going to outspeed them anyway, though, right? Because my Tailwind just expired here anyway. Ugh. Okay. At least the good thing is that Eternatus doesn't really take that much damage from Kyogre. Just unfortunate to get Para, like crit Para into Snarl Miss in 2 turns. But that's okay. We're still not in terrible shape, and if I lose this one, like there were certainly things I could have done better, and it was like we ran into some pretty unexpected stuff, so can't really complain too much at the end of the day. 2 turns of Trick Room left. Now my Suicune's outspeeding my opponent at this point in the game. I've got Urshifu in the back, which is good for us. From Whimsicott, what have we seen so far? Grass Knot. Protect. I mean, I almost want to Sludge Bomb Kyogre here. How many turns of Trick Room are left? 2. But the thing is, I actually like don't have good damage in a Whimsicott. They could Ice Beam me though. Do I Sludge Bomb Whimsicott? I'm gonna go for it, but I feel like they'll probably Protect here. Wait, have we seen Protect? Well, actually, I don't think we have, right? I'm just too flustered over the last couple turns. I actually don't remember. Okay, they do go for Ice Beam, but at -2, we should survive, right? Don't tell me that's another crit. There is just no way, man. I mean, that's game over. Pokemon can be a cruel game sometimes. Yeah, there's no way -2 is KOing. And they didn't like go for a Moonblast there. So if Eternatus survives, we Sludge Bomb, we KO Whimsicott. Urshifu wins the endgame for us. It's not a guaranteed win actually still, so, but it's definitely a frustrating game. As always, though, I have to reflect on what I could have done better. The game's technically not over yet either, but I just don't see a way to win at this point. Because I needed the Sludge Bomb to KO Whimsicott, and then Urshifu could finish things off. Now, I just can't. They should just Grass Knot Suicune. Yeah, I'll Wicked Blow and Scald, I guess, into the Whimsicott slot, but I don't have damage into Whimsicott anymore. Yeah, it's disappointing. I feel like my win rate against Trick Room Whimsicott is literally 0%. I always lose against it. Is that a crit in Urshifu? No, I don't think so. It just does that much, right? Yeah, so it's probably Wave Incense. No, crit would definitely bring me down to my Sash. Alright, GG. Yeah, there was just so much that went wrong for us in this game, right? It was Rillaboom crit. They did have Dazzling Gleam, yeah. So it was Rillaboom crit into Zapdos Para, into Missing Snarl, into crit onto the Eternatus. Because I really do think if Eternatus survives there, we should win the game. But that's part of Pokemon. Crits are part of the game. So let's think about what we could have done better in that one, right? I don't know. I was pretty pleased about the early game, frankly. I guess the main thing is I didn't cover for Trick Room Whimsicott. That was the main issue. Trick Room Whimsicott's just not that common. But the turn it went Trick Room, I could have gone for Roar instead, right? Yeah. Yeah, there's definitely, like, okay, let's think about Pokemon choice. No, I don't think Ensign is ever a better choice there, so I don't think Landorus is better. So we definitely brought the best 4 Pokemon possible. And then the question is, do we have the best possible lead? They went Whim Landorus. My lead wasn't the best, right? Because I led. No, but the thing is, Eternatus covers for Kyogre combinations. And, like, turn 1, turn 2 played out well. Yeah, I guess I just didn't need to force the Tailwind yet. But it's hard to, like, roar there, because let's say I roar and they click Tailwind on their Whimsicott, we're actually in really bad shape because they can just sweep me. So, I don't know. Like, I could have switched Rillaboom out the turn I was going to get hit by Hurricane, but I don't have a free switch in there. I feel like that was just one of those games where I'm sure, like, I think there's probably some things I could have done marginally better, but it was just, like, a lot of bad stuff, you know, not going our way. Or a lot of bad stuff, yeah, going against us. Yeah, that's one in which I need to rewatch the tape, because I can't think of anything that would have been significantly better, just because like, losing to Trick Room Whimsicott is something that's, like, that's not something you always expect on Whimsicott. It's impossible, not impossible, but it's pretty tough to cover for both Trick Room and Tailwind on the same turn, right? So that's just something I'd have to be willing to accept. And Trick Room going up wasn't even that bad for us, it was just the aftermath of it, so, yeah. Maybe there were some opportunities to Scald with Zapdos rather than Snarling. I could have Snarled turn 1 instead as well, with the Suicune, rather than going for, like... Sorry, I could have Snarled instead of going for Scald onto Landorus. Maybe that would have been better as well. But truthfully, this is one in which, like, I'm not super upset about how I played. And yeah, there's just a fair amount of bad fortune. But, you know, we play this, like, Pokemon every day. Naturally, you're going to run into some games where you get unlucky. And we've gotten plenty of good luck on our side as well. You know, I feel like generally across the month. So, yeah, let's just keep it going. Alright, final one of the day, and man, we have played some wild teams today. This is another Lunala team. Now, that is not the restricted I expected to go up against twice, but it's not just the Lunala, it's the Conkeldurr, one of my all-time favorite Pokemon, Rotom-M, and Aegislash. Fascinating. Fascinating, okay. So, I think the lead to fear the most, because as you can see, we've gone up against Trick Room twice, and like that first game was kind of a doozy as well. Like that last game highlights where it's like if your opponent's attacking first, then they can have the opportunity to crit you, right? So that's why speed generally is important, because if your opponent's attacking before you, they can crit you, they can get secondary effects onto you. So I didn't do a great job of denying Tailwind in either game. I mean, sorry, Trick Room. And once again, it's just like Trick Room Whimsicott, especially with the comp like theirs in that last one, seemed kind of out of left field. But that's the strength, right? So I'm kind of expecting Incin plus Lunala from their end. Suicune can roar. Okay, yeah, we actually definitely lead Suicune then, right? Suicune... I'm actually thinking Suicune Urshifu. Suicune, I think Eternatus also isn't half bad here. I do feel a little bit weird bringing both Incin and Urshifu. I actually think I should have made room for Rillaboom here, because I think Fini becomes a big issue now. I just didn't know who to drop because I wanted both of the dark types to deal with the Lunala, but I don't think Lunala is actually that big of a threat, especially because we have Snarl and the Suicune. So if I were to redo this, I'd actually probably drop the Incin for the Rillaboom. Okay, they're gonna go with Lunala and Rotom-M. I'm generally okay with this. The thing about Rotom that scares me is Ally Switch. It's also good because I actually learned that calc with Eternatus where I don't even one-shot Lunala even after Shadow Shield's broken. So, like, Trick Room feels like the obvious play for them to make right now, right? Switch I could Roar. For example, right now what I could do is Roar into Lunala and just Sludge Bomb, but my fear is Rotom protects and then Lunala just goes for a Psychic type attack onto Eternatus. That would be kind of bad. Oh, dear. That would have been a reason to Dynamax Cannon, just to have cover for Ally Switch, because I'm not sure Rotom survives that anyway. You get a lucky poison on Lunala at least, but at what cost? Yeah, and they were going for Trick Room. Okay. It's not terrible at the end of the day. Honestly, it could have been worse. But there's the Fini that I was, talking about earlier. Like, now dealing with Fini is actually going to be pretty difficult. Although the upside is I can roar it, so even if you, try to Calm Mind up against me, it's not actually terrible. The issue right now is if you're my opponent, you can read into the, do I even want to switch the, Eternatus out right now? Like, I would think that my Suicune actually outspeeds Lunala right now, unless they're min speed. So, I'm definitely snarling here. The question is, what do I do with this Eternatus, right? Because I can obviously switch it out into Incineroar, but, there's a chance that they just go for, Meteor Beam here. Or, sorry, actually, if I were them, I would always go for Meteor Beam. I feel like I need to switch Eternatus out. It's just like, if Suicune outspeeds Lunala and I get Snarl off successfully against it, that actually puts us in a really good spot. I guess theoretically I can actually switch an Urshifu as well. But actually Urshifu is not a terrible idea, because I think Incin actually has a lot of value for us in this game. Okay, this might seem kind of weird because normally you would think about conserving Urshifu, but like, my opponent has 3 special attackers right now. I wish I went for Dynamax Cannon instead, but I guess if anything, because we got the poison, it's actually not a bad trade-off. Okay, we are faster with Suicune, so I'm probably going to stay in with Eternatus there, but I'm fine with this outcome. Like, they just set up Trick Room for me to outspeed with Suicune right now, so this is not bad. It's just a little frustrating because if I stayed in with Eternatus, we probably could have just picked up a KO onto Fini with the Sludge Bomb as well. So, Urshifu's probably going down here, but that's okay, because it gives me a free switch in back out into the Eternatus. Yeah, there's Meteor Beam. I didn't want to take the chance of Lunala being min speed here. Like, this is just not a risk that I was willing to take here. Because let's say Lunala's min speed, it outspeeds my Suicune, and you one-shot Eternatus. I have no way to beat the Tapu Fini at that point in the game, and that's really bad for us. There's Meteor Beam. Yep, and they double it. Cool. There's a sacrifice we had to make. So, thank you for your service, Urshifu. I don't think another Snarl KOs Lunala here, which is the only downside right now. That's actually a pretty big issue then, because they're at neutral and they can just go for a Psychic type attack onto Eternatus. So I could bring in Incin instead. Incin actually feels fine, right? Because then we can just outspeed the Lunala and KO it. Yeah, actually, that's not terrible. What I don't want to do is bring out, I'm just also thinking about all my possibilities right now, because they were probably going to vie for like a Conkeldurr switch in right now if I were in their shoes. So like what I could do is Snarl here and then actually Parting Shot into Fini to cover for a Conkeldurr switch in. Although I guess Lunala might switch into Conkeldurr instead. Maybe I rushed that play a little bit. I could have just gone for the knockout onto Lunala as well. That does get access to Wide Grip, but that's not too much of an issue for us right now. Okay, Fini switches. That's exactly what I wanted to see. Into Rotom. That's even better. Okay, nice. Unless they went for a Psychic type attack. Oh, it's the double switch. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Conkeldurr, right? Yeah. It's just the ally switch I gotta play around. That's so scary. I wish Parting Shot went into the right slot here. That's also a little unfortunate. Because the thing is, with Suicune and Incin, I don't really have that much damage output right now. And if Eternatus goes down, it's really bad news, because I can't deal with Fini anymore after that. Now, me switching into Incin here this next turn is fairly obvious, right? I can switch into Incin and just click Sludge Bomb, but problem is Conkeldurr is going for like an Ice Punch. That's really scary. And there's still 2 turns of Trick Room left, so as much as it pains me to make the obvious play, you know what I could do? I could Self-Roar. I don't really think that's the play, though. I put my opponent in a spot where Sludge Bomb will kind of just KO everything. So even though the Conkeldurr switching here is kind of obvious, I'm still gonna... Sorry, the Incin switch is still kind of obvious. I'm still gonna go for it, I think, and just Scald the Conkeldurr slot. It's the turn 1 ally switch I didn't do a great job of covering for. And, like, Rotom honestly carries ally switch more often, especially a Rotom Mo. Yeah, they go for Ice Punch. Okay, that's really good. That's really good. As long as we don't freeze. They go for Leaf Storm, but it's fine. They're at -1. Yeah, that actually does no damage. And now they're at -3. Okay, I can't burn Conkeldurr because Misty Terrain is up. I wonder if they're Guts. I have no idea. The play I want to make right now is to Fake Out into Conkeldurr and then switch Suicune out into the Eternatus. Yeah. Like, the problem with dealing damage into Conkeldurr is that it can heal it all back with a good Drain Punch, right? That last turn we needed to get correctly. I don't say needed to, but the problem is if we stay in with Eternatus there, even at -1, Conkeldurr probably still two-shots us with Ice Punch. But now it's like I get to stall out their Trick Room and I get Eternatus back in. Okay, Rotom switches out, which I'm actually happy about because that means no more ally switch this next turn. I bring out Lunala, which is fine. Does Lunala one-shot us? That's my main question right now. Okay, good fake out onto Conkeldurr. That's a good turn. Trick Room expires, which is what we're looking for. Terrain also disappears. Maybe can favor us. Because the play I want to go for here is to Sludge Bomb into the Lunala. I don't want to go for a Dragon type attack here. So like Sludge Bomb into Lunala and just Parting Shot into Conkeldurr is what I lean towards here. I'm just nervous about getting crit, but I do think this is just the best play. Because what I can't allow to happen is to Sludge Bomb Conkeldurr, they switch Conkeldurr out into Rotom, sacrifice it, and then Lunala gets a second Trick Room up. But the other play I have to consider is Lunala's faster than my Incineroar here, so it could just have a Psychic type attack into the Eternatus here. Best case is Conkeldurr switching out and Lunala just faints. Because then I would just get a free switch in into Suicune, and then I can pivot Incin back out for Intimidate. Okay, Lunala's the one switching out. Into Fini. I'm okay with this because I one-shot the Fini, so as long as we don't like get crit onto... And you can't freeze me now, even if you go for Ice Punch, so that's also generally good. This is an intense one, though. These games today have been crazy. But I always love fun games, either way, win or lose. Okay, so that's the beauty of Specs Eternatus. We just get a one-hit KO there. That's good. Now Conkeldurr's at -2 going into this next turn. And of course, we did get lucky with that early poison in this game, right? So we've certainly had some good fortune here as well. It's mainly question mark of how much Ice Punch does here. And it's like in the last game, we got Kyogre down to -2, but it didn't matter because a crit just, you know, gets around that. So we'll see. Suicune is out. By the way, though, that's a really big turn either way. Oh, and they even go for Drain Punch. That's amazing. Okay. That last turn was a really big deal because I didn't have great ways to actually deal damage into Tapu Fini outside of Eternatus. With Suicune and Incineroar, I actually have decent damage into Conkeldurr, Lunala, and the Rotom. So, like, what I was so nervous about this game was a scenario in which my opponent just knocks out Eternatus early and then I just can't beat the Fini. That's why I was saying maybe I should have brought Rillaboom in the beginning of the game, right? So that was like a very legitimate concern, but now my opponent's made my job a little bit easier because that win condition is off the table, which is really good for us, I would say. Okay, Lunala comes out. I'm just going to make the same play of Sludge Bombing into Lunala. And I think here I'm going to Snarl because if I'm my opponent, I'm switching out the Conkeldurr right now. If they stay in, that's also fine. You're just stuck with the -2 Conkeldurr for the remainder of the game, but they switch out. Perfect. Perfect. Okay, so now Rotom's going to be at -1 immediately, which is good, and we should just outspeed the Lunala here. Okay, Lunala does protect, but it's okay because at this point now, Snarl will also KO the Lunala, right? So we've seen Protect, Trick Room, Meteor Beam. So what's your fourth? Should be Moongeist Beam, right? Because that means if you're Moongeist Beam, you don't have a Psychic type attack, and that also means Eternatus is in a really good spot. Still just, like, I'm still nervous about crits here, but it happens. We've seen Leaf Storm and Ally Switch from Rotom. Will-O-Wisp makes less sense because they have a Tapu Fini. So I mainly lean towards just Sludge Bombing into Lunala here. If you Ally Switch, well, I just knock out your Rotom. Like, Sludge Bomb and Snarl here, I think. So let's see if they go for the Ally Switch. They do not. Beautiful. And now Rotom does no damage into my my Eternatus. These games today were absolutely crazy, though. Like, they all easily could have gone the other way, and, like, we ran into some really interesting teams today. Yeah, the Leaf Storm. Okay, so now your Rotom does no damage, essentially. Okay, and they don't crit there. Yeah, I think the one scary thing, and I was, like, thinking about game 2, like, there were positions where instead of Snarling, I could have just maybe gotten more damage off. Also, the turn I tried to Wood Hammer with Rillaboom, I could have theoretically clicked Grassy Glide for some damage, but I don't think it was going to knock out Zapdos, but I could have, you know, glided and Scalded Zapdos that turn for a KO. So, it's one improvement we could have potentially made. Anyway, Conkeldurr comes out now. I think me switching Eternatus into Incin is fairly obvious, but even if they Drain Punch that slot, it's fine. Well, it's actually probably better to just switch it the other way around, right? So Sludge Bomb into Rotom here, and then switch into Incin. The only fear is still a crit this turn, like crit Ice Punch. The good thing is I don't have to worry as much about a freeze, which is nice. But the other thing that's really tough for them is like, do you click Ice Punch when there's, you know, the potential, like you might want to be incentivized to click Drain Punch instead right now. Okay, and they don't ally switch. That should win us the game now, even if they crit, I think, because you're already at -1 on Conkeldurr. This next turn I can just fake out Scald. Oh, actually, no, not necessarily, because you can still win via crits. But yeah, they just go for Drain Punch here, and they read into a switch. Okay. Yeah, this was a scenario where it's like, if we get crit again, so be it, right? Like, the odds of that happening are obviously pretty slim, and even in the scenario in which they crit, there's still a decent chance we can win. It's just scary, because then Conkeldurr can heal back consistently with Drain Punch, but now we can just Sludge Bomb and fake out. So, this was a really scary game, and turn 1, like I said, I didn't do a great job playing around Ally Switch, but I didn't really have a great solution either. It would have been, like, I don't know, Dynamax Cannon into Eternatus turn 1, but I didn't mind the potential to snipe down the Rotom. Now, what was really good for us is that they brought 3 special attackers, so Snarl from Suicune was super big. This is why I was saying, you know, maybe the Suicune could have been super relevant in Game 1 of today's episode. And then, yeah, you could see, Aurora didn't actually end up working out, but that's exactly why I think I should have brought it in that first game, for example. So Suicune outspeeding my opponent under the Trick Room was really nice. And then having the Tapu Fini, like my opponent just sacrificing Fini was such a big deal because that was like one of their primary win conditions in my opinion, given that I didn't bring Rillaboom. So the turn that they just switched out and gave up Fini, it suddenly like put us in a really, really good position. So yeah, these games today were all really intense though. And yeah, like I said, we ran into some really cool Pokemon. Didn't expect to play 2 different Lunala teams and very different Lunala teams at that. So yeah, I always love to see, you know, like really unique team building. And I think like all of the teams we ran into today had some really cool stuff. So props to all my opponents there. Anyway, that's going to be it for this one, so thanks so much as always for watching. Thank you to TSL Tang for the team. Details in the description below. Leave a like if you enjoyed. Don't forget to answer the question of the day, and I'll see you all soon. All right, peace.